Thank you very much for being with us. The fighting has stopped in Syria between Druze and Sunni Bedouin tribes. This after the loss of at least 100 lives. But in the background, a dangerous clash on the cards between Israel and Syria. The Druze are reportedly asking Israel to not get involved in trying to support them. But that hasn't stopped Israel carrying out airstrikes on Syrian troops in the town of Sweida. Israel's leadership citing the defence of the Druze people as their reason for the attack. Clemence Waller with this.
After 2 days of sectarian violence between Druze and Bedouin fighters, Syrian military troops entered the southern city of Sweida with the mandate to restore order. But soon after their arrival, violent clashes broke out. Some religious leaders of the Druze community reportedly called on local armed factions to lay down their weapons and cooperate with government forces to calm the situation. However, soon after, one of the main religious authorities accused Damascus of forcing their hand.
We accepted this shameful declaration for the safety of our families and children, but they broke the agreement by continuing to bomb civilians indiscriminately.
A few moments after these remarks, the Syrian Ministry of Defense declared a ceasefire agreement had been reached.
To all units operating in the city of Sweida, we declare a complete ceasefire after agreement with the city's notables and dignitaries. We will only return fire and face any attack by outlaw groups.
A religious minority established in Syria, Lebanon and Israel, the Druze have expressed concern over the new Syrian government's pledges to protect them. A fear echoed by Israel, who have historically claimed to support the religious faction, seeing them as a loyal minority. As a warning to Damascus, the Israeli military launched several strikes in the region, saying it was acting to protect the Druze and vowed to ensure the area near the border remained demilitarized.
Clemence Waller with that. Well, Syria's foreign ministry then has said Israel holds full responsibility for the latest attacks on southern Syria and the consequences. The ministry said it's keen to protect all Syrian citizens without exception, and that includes the Druze minority. This comes after Israel carried out strikes against Syrian government forces in southwestern Syria for a second day this Tuesday. And as we said, vowing to protect that Druze minority. Let's get some deeper analysis. Leila Jacinto joins us. Leila, of course, our international affairs editor. Leila, great to see you. A very strongly worded statement from the Syrian authorities on Israel. Tell us what's brought this on.
Well, yes, it is considerably strong for the new Syrian regime. They have been, trying to maintain their relations with Israel. But, this mark is the second round of clashes that since the Assad regime fell, involving the Druze religious minorities. And Israel has entered the fray. There are several reasons for this. Israel, there are the stated reasons, the stated official reasons, and that is because the Druze community, it's the peculiarities and the particularities of the Druze community. This is a religious minority. It's an offshoot of Ismaili Shiism. And this community is spread across 3 borders in the Middle East. We have a map to show you the spread of the Druze community because you have Druze community members, you will see in this map, in Israel, in the northern Galilee area. There's a Druze community in Lebanon where they can play an important role in Lebanese politics. And the biggest community is in Syria, and Sweida province is considered the heartland of the Druze. Now, the Druze of Israel are a very influential minority in Israel. When the Israeli state was formed in 1948, the Druze were integrated into the state, unlike the Palestinians, for example. So you have Druze community members who serve in the Israeli military. They have powerful political voices, and there have been fears that since the fall of the Assad regime, that the Druze minorities' security will not be secured. So Israel, claims to be protecting the Druze minority. What Israel wants, of course, is not to have Islamists at its border. It shares an 80-kilometer border with Syria. But there are experts who say that Israel actually wants a weakened Syrian state, which is why, these strikes are being conducted in this buffer zone near the Israeli border, which used to be, held by the UN. What happened when these clashes erupted? This time it was clashes between Sunni Bedouin tribes. These are very local disputes that were sort of kept under the lid under the brutal Assad regime. When clashes erupted in Sweida on Sunday, the government forces sent its troops in order to maintain the calm. But the situation there is extremely tense, and there have been videos circulating, very disturbing videos of violations of Druze community members. These videos have whipped up the sentiment among Israeli Druze. Today, on Tuesday, after Israel conducted strikes, after the Syrian authorities said that there was a ceasefire, the Israeli military said that dozens of Israeli citizens crossed into Syria. Now, a lot of them are Druze members, and they apparently seem to be so concerned about the security of their Druze brethren, because even though they may have different nationalities, this community has kinship ties, so Israel is positioning itself as the protector of the Druze, while Syria, all of this goes to show how difficult the Syrian government under Bashar al-Assad and under Ahmad Shara is to try to maintain control and keep the sovereignty of this country that is being rebuilt.
It is complicated. Just reminding people, of course, it was only in December that Ahmad al-Shara and HTS overthrew Bashar al-Assad, ending almost 30, 40 years, 50 years. Go back to Assad Senior, of course, Hafiz, his father, that kind of dictatorship and one iron grip rule on Syria. So one wonders, with what you've just said, what is the relationship then, in any real terms, between Israel and Syria right now? How does Israel get on with Ahmad al-Shara?
That's $1 million question, and it's complicated, to put it short. Look, when the Assad regime fell in December, Shara, the new president of Syria, immediately said that his government would abide by the 1974 ceasefire agreement between Israel and Syria. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu straight away said that agreement is null and void, and started securing, this zone in southern Syria that Israel wants as a buffer zone. Now, behind the scenes, what was happening, this is from reports, quoting Israeli diplomats and U.S. officials as well, Israel was putting pressure on the U.S. to keep the sanctions on Syria and to have a very hardline position on the new authorities. But U.S. President Donald Trump just overturned all that. When he visited Saudi Arabia in May, he had a meeting with President Shara of Syria. He lifted sanctions, and he's put pressure on Israel to hold talks with Syria. What Trump would like to see is Syria get into the Abraham's Accord, which a number of Arab governments have signed with Israel. That is extremely premature. There are many underlying issues between Syria and Israel. A big one, of course, is that Israel annexed the Golan Heights in 1967. This is a very symbolic and emotional issue for Syrians. If you will remember, Ahmad Shara, the president's nom de guerre, was Jolani, because he comes from the Golan Heights. So it's very premature, really, to see an Abraham's Accord. But what Shara has been trying to do, and what a number of Syrians want, is that they don't really want to incur the wrath of Israel. They know that Syria doesn't have a chance against the Israeli military. So what they seem to want is the ability to police these communities. But these communities have long been left to themselves. Even under the Assad regime, they basically police themselves. And getting it all together in a unified Syria under a centralized command is proving to be extremely difficult.
Leila Jacinto, for now, thank you very much indeed. But clearly this story has so much more to run. Leila, our international affairs editor there. Thank you.